UKIP welcomes genuine refugees fleeing for their lives from Putin's barbaric and bloody war on civilians in Ukraine. Ukrainian refugees are overwhelmingly women, children and old people who don't want to leave their homeland and they want to return to it as soon as it's safe to do so. Now, Britain has a proud record of welcoming genuine refugees from persecution, war and death, but our asylum system is undermined and overwhelmed by the tide of illegal migrants paddling across the Channel in unsafe, makeshift boats cobbled together by people smugglers. Now, in contrast to the Ukrainians, these people are not refugees fleeing a country ravaged by war. They're coming from France. France isn't ravaged by war, though in some Parisian suburbs violence is so great you could be forgiven for thinking so. But whatever the circumstances in their home country, migrants are not entitled to asylum here if they arrive from a safe country like France, and we should send them back to Monsieur Macron. Unlike the poor Ukrainians, English Channel migrants are overwhelmingly young, able-bodied men, over 90% according to Home Office statistics. 98% of them arrive without passports, usually deliberately destroyed in order to make it harder to identify them properly. We've no idea of their COVID status, let alone any terrorist connections. Our immigration control system is completely broken down, unless you're Ukrainian, when the Home Office devises all kinds of bureaucratic hurdles from the jump. The UK has become a magnet for failed asylum claimants from all over Europe. 25,000 of them are now living in hotels paid for by the British taxpayer, living on the backs of millions of British taxpayers now struggling to pay their heating bills. Boris Johnson's government has been criticised for being too slow to admit Ukrainian refugees, yet tough-talking Priti Patel does absolutely nothing to stop the abuse of Britain's generosity by tens of thousands of people with no conceivable claim to asylum who are crossing the Channel. More than 2,500 have crossed the Channel since the start of this year alone. If 2,500 paddle across in January and February, how many more will try as the weather gets better? Nearly 30,000 arrived last year, and that figure could double or even treble this year. Whilst P&O sacked their workers claiming a financial crisis, business has never been better for people smugglers, aided and abetted by our useless politicians and Home Office, which seems to think its job is to give illegal migrants a new home. It welcomes them ashore, puts them on benefits and in hotels, even giving them mobile phones, which are apparently now a human right. The government's response to the embarrassing daily numbers is not to stop the flow, but to stop publishing the figures. Brexit was supposed to enable us to control our borders. This government has given up, and the minister in charge is pretty useless.